Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode on fatherpreneurship.com of purpose-driven content. And I know you've seen all kinds of prison TV shows, the ones I watched going back to Oz in the late 90s, early 2000s. You've probably got a lot of misconceptions of how things work. Maybe you have some ideas how things actually do work. Maybe you have a loved one or a family member or friend incarcerated, and you thought, man, I wish there was a way I could have prepared them for life on the inside so they come back to us safely. Well, thankfully for you, I have a wonderful guest tonight who's going to be sharing some prison survival secrets. This man has spent some time behind bars, so if there is a such thing as an expert, he would be. So my guest for tonight is Angelo Pisano. Welcome, Angelo. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I just asked him before the show started, doesn't Paisano mean something in Italian? He does the hand thing. He's my friend, my friend. So he keeps it real. So Angela, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, and how it was.
I grew up in Brentwood, Long Island, and Port Washington, Long Island, Suffolk County and Nassau County. Um, Normal childhood for the most part. Middle class. Um, my brother and myself were the only Asian people in the neighborhood and on the block. Some struggles, but for the most part, it was normal. Um, my stepfather who raised me, played a part in, I guess, the later years of the abuse. There was abuse in my high school years, junior high school years, and that's when things started taking a turn for the worse.
So Angelo, before we continue, if you have a microphone, if you could plug that in and make sure, I want to make sure everybody's hearing you perfectly clear. And so I'm going to backtrack a little bit to make sure everyone catches every piece of your story, because my goal tonight is to help another man, a young man out there, even a young lady out there, to avoid some mistakes, look for warning signs in other people, and so we can help steer them on the right path. So you talked about, you probably had a biological father, but you talked about your stepfather. How old were you when your stepfather came into your life?
I was less than 2 years old, so I was
Wow.
a year and a half. Um, my father had a divorce. My father at that time was, into bad things, into the criminal lifestyle and gambling and just staying away from responsibilities. When I was a baby, he raised me in uh, prison my first time. I would say around old, I started getting into drugs. 16, 17 years old, life was very uncomfortable. My
Hey,
father,
Angelo, can you hear me? There's a little bit of a delay with that microphone. Some of the things are cutting in and out. Uh, Go ahead and say something again. Maybe we'll test it out real quick. I want to make sure everybody hears your amazing story as clearly as possible.
how about now?
Okay, yeah, I hear
Better, I think.
yeah, it's like one out of every three words we're hearing. Okay, so we'll continue. So you said, your stepfather came into your life when you were pretty much a baby, about to be a toddler around the age of 2. And so he's who you know as your father, your dad who raised you. And so was it like, leave it to beaver type of lifestyle, then things changed, or was it just, you know not so great from the beginning?
Never leave it to Beaver. I wish it was. I mean, all had parts to in the household. Little child, and that my younger brother was born happens to be the years that trouble started in my household. The abuse started. My parents arguing, father physically and emotionally abusing the kids. The fighting and the arguing. At that time, that pushed me to feel uncomfortable in my own home, so I spent a lot of time out in the streets. I gotten introduced to drugs and
You just jumped into a really important part of your story, and we're still having a little bit of issues with the microphone. Maybe we'll try it without the microphone and go back just to your laptop, and maybe just sit a little closer to the laptop, and I think that might fix the issue
you want me to
because
call with? Is there a way to call with the phone and use?
let's no because the audio was better without the microphone. You just got to sit a little bit closer. Yeah. Okay.
Volume all the way up.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, because you just dropped some bombs, and I want to make sure people really get to feel your story. You said abuse started, and arguments started, and the fighting with between your stepfather and your mother. So you gravitated all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but to the streets. How old were you about the time you started doing this? You started taking to the streets.
I would say 15,
But
approximately 15 years old.
okay, so this is high school years.
Yeah, early high school for sure.
Okay. So what was it? So you were trying to escape, which what wasn't the best home life, it seems, correct?
Yeah. So looking back, I mean, after serving 10 years in prison, it's time to look back and reflect. And it was definitely in those years when I'm comfortable being home as a young teenager. You know what I'm saying? I took it to the streets and I learned the criminal lifestyle from there. Um, but yeah, it was the father dynamic. The father in the household was abusive to everyone, really.
So when you went to the streets, you were looking for something. You were looking for at least an escape. Were you looking for somebody to replace that family role, that fatherly role? What were you searching for the most?
Love, love, love. And I'll tell you why. Love and acceptance. And I'll tell you why. I realized that late in my prison term. I had a girlfriend at that time, and she would just give me a lot of love. You know, she was like a hippie girl, and she just gave me a lot of love. And there were some times where we separated when I was in jail. We didn't talk for a long time, and I started to get it myself. I started to self-talk a lot and love and accepting myself. And slowly but surely, I realized that that's what I was looking for as a young person. And I ran to drugs. Drugs filled that void, definitely.
So between the ages of you hit the streets at 15, when did you one? Okay, let's try and make it the best timeline possible. How long before after you hit the streets did you get into drugs or try your first drug or have your first experience?
Oh, immediately.
Wow.
Immediately. Definitely. When I started feeling uncomfortable being home, started staying out late. I started planning my day to be out when my father got home at 4:30 from work. I'll make sure to be out, and never come home till midnight or 1 a.m. And in those hours, hanging out with friends, I would either do drugs, smoke weed. I would steal items that I saw opportunities to steal spur of the moment and sell them later at a later time. Just hustling and making bad decisions, really. I was always intelligent, but those years I was making bad decisions with my behavior. Definitely.
So were you still in school at this time? Or were you
Yes, I
just,
was.
you had dropped out?
Yeah, basically dropped. I enrolled. I was there, but I would show up for 2 hours, meet with my friends, get a bag of weed, and that was it. Go steal for the day, go play video games for the day, talk to girls, all that lifestyle.
Wow. So 15 years old, you're in the streets, marijuana is definitely at play. How long before you're living that life that you have your first you have your first prison experience? Was it your teenage years, or does it take a while for you to get into it, and then boom, all of a sudden you're under arrest?
Oh no, see that for me it was definitely a progressive process. I got arrested at 15 years old, 16 years old for like shoplifting. What was in style back then? Those beads and medallions. So yeah, and then my parents would get called, and they'd have to come pick me up from the precinct. And that's the thing too. Age my level of punishment by how bad the whoopings were. When I got arrested, I didn't get a bad ass whooping at all. So I was confused at that time, like it was okay almost. Um, so that confused me at that age.
Wow. So you got less punishment for, better lack of a better term, worse crimes, worse infringements than you did for, small stuff around the house. So now this is
Yeah.
programming you to believe, hey, this is a cool lifestyle. And I'm guessing, you probably didn't get any big convictions. How old were you when you finally did a significant amount of time, and how long was it? If there was many, or was it just one long one?
It was October 23rd, 1996. I'll never forget that day. Just turned 18. How old I was? I was 17 or 18. I believe I just turned 18. Arrested for a burglary. The jewelry and credit card that I had on me was related to other burglaries. So I did 2 1/4 to 4.5 was my sentence. I did about 32, 33 months of that. But in the beginning of that, when I first got arrested, it was for burglary. Days. And at that time, I was so young and naive and impressionable. I thought everyone did 7 days. And people were there for extended periods of time until it happened to me. You know, nobody plans to go to jail. Nobody plans to go to prison. Like I didn't plan to go to prison. There's never part of the plan. Um, those years, I was ignorant and like making just bad choices, not thinking of my future, not planning for my future. Really,
So take us into the mindset of a young Angelo that first day, because I've always understood there's a difference between jail and prison. There's penitentiary, there's county jail. Take us to day one. Angelo hits prison. You say you don't plan, so obviously this is a new experience for a very young man. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Take us through that.
I well, day one of getting arrested ever, I told on myself. I told all over myself. I gave them evidence. I was so stupid. But that's one of the benefits. At least I did all the crimes by myself, and it wasn't myself. But I wasn't prepared. I wasn't smart. I didn't know what I was doing as far as legally. I didn't have money. I wasn't educated in this area. I was just doing criminal crime to get over and be sneaky. What I now it was definitely fear. No, I was like, what to expect? A lot of movies. I saw Oz and a few, Shawshank Redemption and just a few scary movies. And it was scary. It was definitely scary. And now going to prison when I went upstate, um, like after a year and a half after I was in the county jail, I went upstate. That was a different type of fear. The bus ride, there was like 36 people in a bus, cuffed and shackled, went upstate for like 6 hours. Whole facility, the entire compound was wrapped with razor wire, and there was a lot of steel, a lot of metal, a lot of razor and guns, and man, it was definitely an experience and a wake up call for sure.
Wow. So you're, at least definitely 18 years old around this time. You've been a juvenile for all the, your early years of your criminal past, and now you're in adult grown man prison. And you let me know if I'm wrong, but there's been nobody really to show you the ropes before. And you get to this place with razor wire, guns, and a lot of grown criminal men, some criminal, some maybe not criminal, whatever it may be. And you said there's a different type of fear. Did people look at you and say, "Oh, this young dude, he's fresh. I get something out of him." Was that a part of your experience, or was there a way that you avoided that?
Both. Well, when I first went to prison, my first prison after reception was Green Correctional Facility, and that is 65% of the facility is adolescents. So the officer told me, Paisano, you're going to Green Correctional. He's like, that is gladiator school. Good luck. Oh my goodness. So I went there, and there was an average of 3 to 5 cuttings per week. People will have razors cut to their face. Um, so it was definitely a dangerous environment. I was lucky in that regard to go to that facility. Few reasons. But to answer your question, yeah, definitely people looked at me as a, I'm white, I'm a minority, and they saw me. I was young. They saw me definitely as trying to get something from me, of course. I think I know I was definitely fortunate because I'm tall. I'm 6'3", 210, and I've always been a big kid. Uh, I'm sure that saved my life without even realizing it. But yeah, it seems I avoid a lot of problems compared to shorter, smaller guys in that environment. At least.
So, I can relate to the tall thing. I tell people I'm 5'19", but that's 6'7". And so, thankfully I've never, been incarcerated of any kind. And I plan on keeping it that way. But so you actually had like a little transition period to at least get your mind in a place of what the kind of prison you're going to be going to. And we all hear stories about New York correctional facilities, and we all have heard of Rikers Island. We all heard these stories about the slashing, especially back in the 90s, when a certain gang had made its way, to that area. I'll let people watch Gangland to get caught up on that. I'll leave that to History Channel.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a
um,
very real thing. That was definitely gang wars was a very real thing, and I was a neutral person. I believed I had myself. I will take care of myself, and that's another thing that definitely kept me out of the BS as well.
so okay, so let's elaborate on that because you come in prison, sadly, which is weird, but in prison you're a minority because of the color of your skin. So the
And
major
it's a big deal. Race is a big deal. As soon as you get
right.
in, it's important. People, that's just how it is. People click with their race. I'm not saying
Mhm.
it's a thing to do or not. There are some people that are racist, some are not. I am not. But in prison, people click with their race, their
Uh-huh.
bloodline, and that's just how it is.
So you're automatically lumped in with other white inmates, which is still a minority, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. So now you're grouped, and to use some slang, what's up with how things are sort of operating because you came from this green facility. So now you're in, and what facility did you end up in after green? What was it called?
We have over 25 facilities under my belt total. 1997. Oh, from there, from Green Correctional Facility, the summer through the winter, and in like December, I went to Hale Creek, which is a medium minimum camp. It's a 6-month program to get educated on comprehensive alcohol substance abuse treatment for 6 months, intense programming, and then you go home early. And that's what I did. I went home early on work release.
Wow.
1990.
So we're talking about quite a few trips to prison. So this was just
Oh,
one. This is just your first, correct?
total in my life? Correct. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
3 separate state bids, but yes, that was my first one.
Wow. So you have this. I guess you were lucky in a way, or blessed in a way that you had, like the guard said, gladiator school. So then you get to the big league or big time, whatever you want to call it, and you're in there. And you did 6 months at this place, and that was it.
Yeah, program, come home on work release, closer to home, and just let you know that living life with the adolescent in an adolescent facility and in an adult facility is way different. The younger kids are way more energetic. There's more fights. There's more violence, especially in the summertime, when cuttings happen and violence happens. But in the older adult facilities, where it's generally adults, it's way calmer. People are into their own mind, their own bid, and they're bidding, and just bidding comfortably along.
Wow. I've never had it really broken down to me like that. So you do your work release program. You get out. What, if anything, had changed in your mind where you said, we know you weren't completely scared straight because we know you went back, but what had changed in you? Did you become a better criminal? Did you become somebody who said, "Oh, I'm never going back"? How did that change?
More of a drug addict, to be honest. When I came home from my first prison bit, is when I started with Vicodin and Percocet and the stronger opiates, the whole opiate world. Um, that's interesting because most people do drugs, then get arrested, and then come home after drugs. I did a bid for stealing, the burglaries, and then came home to do drugs. Um, I was home about a year, maybe a year and a half. I committed another crime, foolish crime, around Christmas time, trying to steal jeans. The clerk at the counter reached for the jeans, so I pulled away. Then it becomes a forcible robbery. Nassau County saw that I had convictions, and
Wow. So petty crime leads to more time. So you have bid number two. Now, bid number two. No, let me backtrack a little bit because you say you became a more of a drug addict. Did you get introduced to these drugs during your time in your first bid?
no, that's the thing. That's the thing about me. Whenever I'm incarcerated, I do well. I flourish in that structured environment. And to this day, I built my own structured environment, so I still do well. But I learned it there, like steal in prison. I don't steal in jail. I don't do drugs. I don't get high or a thief or anything. Um, but when I was out on the street and during those years, I would do drugs. I would steal. So that was my criminal. Those are my criminal behaviors, and I had to overcome them throughout the years. And I have, at least a dozen experiences that have helped me transition and shift my thinking from those negative drugs and crime to where I am today.
I want my viewers to learn about your thought process. You were obviously still missing something to go, from a structured environment like prison, which you were flourishing on. What were you still looking for that love and acceptance when you got out, and that's why you turned to heavier drugs?
Honestly, if I may, at that time, it was sex and drugs. Sex triggered drugs, drugs triggered sex, and I was home. I was a free man. I was making money, looking good, feeling good, and that's what I wanted to commit myself to. Feeling good with drugs and sex.
Wow. I appreciate that honesty because a lot of people won't tell it like that. I mean, that's, that's where your mindset was at the time. There's a saying because I grew up attending a lot of 12-step meetings with my mother, who was a recovering addict, is that they say your mind becomes stuck during where you first start using drugs or narcotics. So you're saying, yours was about 15. So as you get out, you're, almost grown, but you have the mindset of 15-year-old, and here comes money and sex, and it's like, oh, let's get it.
That's a
So
very real thing. I agree.
yeah.
That's real.
So let's keep the train rolling and moving along in your story. You go back for stealing some jeans. You have a prior record. So I'm guessing this time, this next portion of your stint wasn't in a juvenile facility, wasn't no work program. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, the second bid, I spent 21 months in the county. I learned neglect the hard way. That was a really difficult time for me. Yeah, my lawyer neglected me, my family did, my friends did, and I was, I deserved it. I was doing wrong things in my life. Um, I don't want to say I deserved it because that's a long time to be in prison, but I was not living a law-abiding life. So that second bid, when I came home, oh yeah, so that's when I got clean for the first time. 5 years clean, and I was home after jail. Like I did my first 3 years clean in prison. I had time to get clean. I wanted to do self correction. I wanted to burn calories, work out twice a day, brush my teeth twice a day. Like my second bit, I started taking my life seriously. I came home clean for 2 years, and I remember the dentist to get dental work done. He on opiates. He wrote me a prescription. I took pills. I didn't know what they were at that time. I wasn't educated. Started taking Vicodin, and I liked it. And I kept taking Vicodin, and I started buying it for my friends. And my friends would tell me, it's a mild pill, habit. You won't get physically sick from it. It's not a thing. Vicodin for like a month and a half. I was sick. I did feel the withdrawal symptoms. So I went back to what I know how to do to get those drugs. Writing prescriptions, going to pharmacies, trying to steal prescriptions so I could see how they're written to write better prescriptions. So yeah, my second biz got me clean when I relapsed, and then I got another felony for the prescriptions and stealing prescription pads and forgery. And I went up for the third time, and I was like, it's scarred my mind back again. It was so sad.
What I want people to understand is that, prescription pills, opiates are they're heroin. I want people to understand that. Opiates like, Vicodin and Percocet, they are synthetic heroin and sometimes more powerful. And because it's legal, it's more readily available. And it's actually become more of an epidemic than traditional heroin that you would get from Afghanistan. So there's a lot of teenagers and young people getting addicted to this drug because it's readily available. And people like dentists are saying, hey, take this heroin by another name. So Angelo's really exposing something about how a lot of people get addicted to these things without really even knowing it. He's telling the
Yeah,
truth. So
right.
felony number,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say again, it was my own ignorance because I didn't research it. I followed the advice of my friends. They were like, it's mild, don't worry about it. So, but it's on me, really.
Yeah, but a lot of people are in your shoes because they just don't know. And you can't just take pills. I always have an aversion to narcotics. My body actually throws them up. So I'm thankful for that because, I was never able to get into that addiction for natural aversion. But a lot of people get trapped thinking it's just a pain pill. Take more of these. They keep getting refills. And, we can talk about conspiracies, but it's become an epidemic. So I thank you for highlighting that and helping people understand, about that kind of drug, synthetic heroin. So now we're talking about felony number 3. We're going to keep people going along in your timeline where you had got yourself clean in prison. You were structured once again, but through your own mistake, or ignorance, you relapse, and that causes you to get back into old behaviors. So by this time, you spent about what 3 to 4 years of your life in prison.
32 months my first day, 34 my second day.
Wow.
I want to do the math to get the exact months.
We're
So
close.
when I
We're close to 6 years, though. It's close to 6 years by now.
yeah, total in my life, I have 121 months, and 120 months is 10 years.
Wow.
Years. But I also did county bid, the county bullet 1 year, went to Rikers Island 1 year. So there was some small stints in there as well from drugs. And I also want to explain the progression of that heroin drug and opiates and this epidemic that we're currently in.
Please do.
So,
Please do.
like I said, Vicodin, I did Oxy, Roxy, I did heroin, I sniffed it, went to prison for 5 years. I mean, for 3 years I did the prison, and then 2 years I was clean. So I was clean for 5 years. When I relapsed from Vicodin and then Percocet, after 45 days, I went right back to where I was while I was in the depths of my addiction and going with the hard drugs. That was my number one decision. Um, I used a needle. I shot drugs a few times. So I want to express that when it comes time to pick up that addiction again, the majority of us pick up exactly where we left off and get worse progressively from there. So after 5 years, I thought that it's not such a bad deal. Like it wasn't such a big deal, but I progressed really hard, really fast, felonies. So
Wow.
I want to express that the addiction is severe, and it comes back fierce.
That's real. I know that I've seen that in my life and people around me. So I appreciate you telling the truth, because so many people have this false idea of how addiction works, how the addict mind works. And you're just kicking the truth, and I truly appreciate it. And I hope this is my intention is to help somebody else out there that may be struggling with addiction or facing situations like you and decide not to turn towards narcotics and pharmaceuticals. So now you've spent all this time of your life. I want to wrap this in a way that people get to see the progression of where you are now, because, since you've gotten out this last time, you've done some amazing things. So let's talk about the last prison bit, if we haven't already talked about that. Let's talk about your last stint in prison, however many facilities that was. But what was it this last time that was the it for you?
It was complicated, and I'll go into it. I'll go into it as briefly as I can. When I was in the in the middle of my prison bid, I messed up my good time credits. I was friends with someone who got in trouble. He got in trouble. I got in trouble. We all got in trouble. I lost some good time credits. I had to go back program to complete a drug program to get it completed for my parole. Um, so I ended up extending my time in jail. When I came home, I was so tired of. I remember being in a cell, and I would beg life, beg God, beg fate to please give me a chance at being free. I knew I was smart and I would do well. So when I came home, mother pushed me and urged me to be with my younger brother. My younger brother is an MIT graduate. He's a systems engineer. At that time, he was with the Ford Motor Company, research and development. So he's like a really good scholastic person, which is awesome. Home, I connected with my brother, and we got really close really quickly. And that first Thanksgiving, he was asking me about, hey, if I went to jail, what do I do? How do I not get my ass kicked? And I thought he was fine. I always see my brother. He's fine. He'll be fine. If anything ever happens, you'll be fine. I already know he carries himself well. He's asking me, what should I do? What would I do? What should I do? How do I survive? So I explained it to him, and that quickly became my book outline. Don't be a snitch. Don't do drugs with credit. Don't, there's so many things. Um, I turned it to my book outline. I started writing my book. I published my book, him and I together. I got such a great response from readers, from the clergy who work in facilities, and from family members of inmates that read the book. I got such a great response. I knew I had to write a second one, and that's the second one coming on within the next 45 days.
So this is what I want people to really grasp. You said something that was the it, where you said you had gotten so tired of being in a cell, and you can write a new book about that. You gotten so tired of being in a cell and begging God for your freedom. So 10 years of your young life, I guess you're late 20s by now, where this is, you're starting to get a little bit of wisdom about yourself, where that 30 is starting, you start knocking that 30-year-old door.
That was 2011. That was it.
Oh,
That was it. And
wow.
I still wasn't educated. That's the thing. I'm currently making a plan. So when men come out of prison, they have this laminated management system, a post-release management system, because that was big for me. So when I got released from prison, I still wasn't ready. I was ready with my heart and drive and be driven, and I really want to do well, but I wasn't educated and really prepared for the real deal stuff. So connecting with my brother really helped me with that, because he is educated in finance and in business matters. So I got connected with him, helped him build his business. He helped me with my book. It was great. I learned beautiful things on how to shift my thinking. Things that I wasn't doing when I was out, when I was free. I was living like an idiot in certain ways, doing crime like that. So yeah, hanging with my brother helped me shift my thinking. But I wanted to stress that we come out men come out of prison and they have such great intention, such high drive, high intensity, such high appreciation. I I mean, if I had a huge business, I would hire ex felons because of that. They work really hard, really well, and they're really appreciative. To be home and given a chance. Because I remember at that time I wasn't prepared with a mental plan. I didn't know business. I didn't know how to write a book and build things like I do now. I didn't know about the internet like I do now. So I wasn't really educated mentally, but I was prepared to do the right thing and to do well. And I think a lot of people need mentorship when they come home, scaffolding, someone who could help them manage, yeah, good management skills, financial management skills, business management, time management. When people come home, they need to be educated. You know, they
Um,
need to be educated.
you had something that some people don't get the luxury of, and you had a family member that was doing well to be that mentor, who happens to be your younger brother. And that leads me to another piece of the story I want to bring out is that your younger brother was also in the same house with all the abuse. If you do know, can you tell us, as much as you can speak for him, why his route was so different? Was it like he saw you and he said, I ain't going that route, and he
Yeah,
decided to pour himself into education? Is that what happened?
exactly. That's exactly what happened. He was in the fifth grade, and the detectives came to my house and they knocked on the door right after school, like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. So he came running home. And we were sitting on the couch doing homework, and I never forgot. The detectives came to pick me up, nervous and scared. I asked him to call his father at work and what's going on. And the detective let me hug him goodbye. And I remember crying. I cried, and I thought I was a tough kid. I was a gangster at that time. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was a tough dude. But yeah, I cried in front of him, and he knew there was something wrong. He knew there was a problem. When he first came home, he was quiet that day. He knew there was something wrong. Um, it was sad, man. It was really sad to see, man. I left him. He lost me. Excuse me, for 3 years. I left him, just left my family. Um, and I felt really bad about that because prior to that, I wasn't the best older brother to him. You know what I mean? I was doing crime, smoking weed, and being selfish and stealing money. You know what I mean? So that really made me feel bad. That's why when I came home, I knew I had a chance to make things right with my relationship with him, and put forth good energy, as much as I can. And
Since this is fatherpreneurship.com, I want to, try to wrap this whole story with, after all this has happened, you've been home for about 4 years now. You've written one successful and now about to be two successful books. That's doing really great work, by the way, and I appreciate what you're doing. I know a lot of people do because you already talked about the feedback. People need to check out your website, and I'll put that up on this banner in just a second for people to go check out. After all this has happened, you're a man, you spend time with your brother, you learn in business, you got mentorship, you're exhibiting the potential that you had all the time, but drugs and things got in the way. Have you, your brother, your mother, has that relationship with your stepfather, the man who raised you, has that been reconciled? Has there been forgiveness? What's going on with that? Or is he just, you went ahead and removed him out of your life?
well, forgiveness, yes, definitely, 100%. I forgive him for yelling at us when we were kids. I'm not gonna hold that against him. Like he took my mother in with two kids when they were very young, and he took them in, bought a house, and raised the kids, and I was one of them. And I was a bad kid, stealing and setting fires on things. So I love that guy. So when my parents had a divorce in 1997, never went back to Brentwood. I never went back to Suffolk County. I never reached out to him. I reached out to him a few times in letters from jail. During those years, I was ashamed. I was ashamed to be in jail, to be doing crime, locked up again. That's my life. That's my life. So after reaching the point of telling myself, yo, dude, are you going to be a waste of your life to go to prison for the rest of your life? Why do that to myself? Why would I do that? Um, spoken to him a few times on the phone. We haven't spoken recently. But I love that guy, man. Like for what he did for us and with us, through the bad and the good. I love that guy. Um, I currently live in Denver, Colorado. He lives in New York. Maybe I should reach out, send him an email. I should probably find him on Facebook and send him an email.
You know, there's a lot of stories of reunions of people who've been, you know, missing for decades, and hey, I found them on Facebook. So, you know, that would be a great ending to that story. And I'm so glad that you found the power of forgiveness, because there is a theme that's been going on in this series where I've had people that were sexually abused by their biological fathers, physically abused, and forgiveness is the key for healing other people that have been hurt from the abuse. So I'm glad you got that major and most important component out of the way. So what I want you to do is, if there is one message, and tell me the website, by the way, so I can put that up for everybody to go check out your book and stuff. Go ahead and tell me that real quick so I can type it in. Yeah, where people can find your book.
PrisonSurvivalSecrets.com. I'm taking pre-orders on PrisonSurvivalSecrets.com. The book is currently $9.95, but my publisher tells me it will be going on sale for $24.95. So for now, pre-orders and $10. Can't beat it.
Mm-hmm. Is that correct on the screen right there?
PrisonSurvivalSecrets.com. Yes, thank you so much. And my email
Boom.
is PrisonSurvivalSecrets@gmail.com.
Great. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to, if you have a message, if there's one thing that you want young men and families, people going in or already in prison to know, please tell the viewers that one message, that if that's the last thing you get to ever tell them, please share that with them right now.
Bad times come and fearful time comes, uncertainty and high anxiety. What gets me through, and what I know will get everyone through, is to just know that this time came to pass. Things will pass. This will pass. It's uncomfortable right now, whether it be with bills, living in a cell. I was fortunate to have a light at the end of my tunnel. Keep the focus on the end of your tunnel. Focus on your goals, where we want to be, where we want to go. The pain and the suffering will pass. There will be good days. And we all need to find what we love, bias for action. That's my thing. Find what I love and go to it. Find what you love and go to it. And not consider the pain and the suffering. Don't even acknowledge it as much as you can. Don't acknowledge the bad as much as you can. Focus on the positive, focus on the goals, focus on how fortunate we are, focus on how fortunate you are to be in this situation right now. Because things can get worse. No matter how bad things are, things can always get worse real quick. So I try to stay fortunate and optimistic. And just know bad times come to pass, and we can control of our happiness.
Wow. You know, Angela, I truly appreciate that message. I know the viewers will, especially those that need to hear that. And of course, please go check out PrisonSurvivalSecrets.com. If you are a hip hop fan, 90s hip hop, you're going to see a lot of faces that you're like, hey, I know, ain't that so and so. And he's got some major celebrity endorsements for the work that he's doing. So, you know, if you can give this book as a gift, you can, you know, share this video, share this blog post, however you're watching it, share it all over social media to get the word out, because Angelo Pisano is doing great work, and it is my passion and mission to help spread messages just like this, to help another man, to help maybe even another young lady avoid some of the things, heal from some of the things that all these people, my guests, have been going through. You know, all things are possible, and I just want to share that with you right now. So as I end always every show, I want to say thank you for your most valuable commodity on earth, which is your time, because once you give it away, you'll never get it back. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on fatherpreneurship.com for another amazing interview with another amazing person sharing tools on how you can heal, how you can strive, how you can survive, and actually elevate yourself in life. God bless you. See you next time. Angelo, hang on one moment.
Thank you. Have a great night.